The night sky over Palo Alto hung heavy with fog, casting a misty glow around the streetlights as Elon Musk stepped out of Tesla headquarters. It was nearly midnight, but the lights inside the building still burned bright behind him. Another 18-hour workday had come to an end. His driver had texted that he'd be 15 minutes late, something about unexpected traffic on the 101. Perfect, Elon thought to himself, stretching his arms above his head. Some actual fresh air. The parking lot was almost empty now. Most employees had gone home hours ago, leaving behind only the handful of engineers and programmers who, like Elon, seemed to run on some inhuman schedule. He walked slowly, enjoying the rare moment of quiet. No meetings, no decisions, no phones ringing, just the sound of his footsteps on the pavement and the distant hum of late-night traffic. Elon checked his watch, a simple, understated timepiece that seemed at odds with his billions. He had 13 minutes until his driver would arrive. He decided to walk around the building, something he rarely got to do. When you're the boss, people notice you. They want to talk, to pitch ideas, to ask questions. Sometimes he just wanted to think. He rounded the corner of the building where the employee parking structure met the main road. The area was dimly lit, with shadows pooling between the yellow circles cast by security lights. That's when he saw the shopping cart first, piled high with what looked like neatly organized bags and bundles. Someone had arranged a makeshift shelter against the wall using a blue tarp and cardboard. Elon slowed his pace. He'd seen homeless people before, of course. San Francisco and the surrounding Bay Area had one of the worst homelessness problems in the country. Despite his wealth and the many demands on his attention, it wasn't something he could ignore. He'd made donations, funded initiatives, but seeing it up close always felt different from reading statistics on a screen. He was about to turn and give the person privacy when he heard coughing. Then a figure emerged from beneath the tarp. The man stood slowly, stretching much like Elon had done minutes before. Even in the poor light, something about the man's silhouette made Elon freeze mid-step. The homeless man turned, becoming visible in the glow of the security light. He was bearded, his hair long and unkempt. His clothes were worn but surprisingly clean-looking. But it wasn't any of these details that caught Elon's attention. It was like looking in a mirror, a strange, distorted mirror that showed a version of himself from some alternate universe. The man had Elon's height, his build, and most strikingly, the same facial structure. Despite the beard and the dirt, the resemblance was uncanny. For a moment, neither man moved. They just stared at each other across the empty parking lot, twin expressions of shock on their faces. The homeless man broke the silence first. "Well, that's not something you see every day." His voice was rough but carried. The same slight accent as Elon's, that hard-to-place blend of South African with hints of American picked up over years abroad. Elon blinked. "The voice too?" This was beyond coincidence. "Who are you?" he asked, taking a step closer. The man didn't back away. Instead, he gave a small, tired smile. "Name's Tom, though I'm guessing you're more interested in why I look like I could be your brother." To put it mildly, Elon said. He glanced around. The parking lot was empty. His security team was nowhere in sight. They were waiting with the car. For perhaps the first time in years, Elon Musk was alone with a stranger. A stranger who wore his face. Tom gestured to a concrete parking block. "I'd offer you a chair, but as you can see, I'm between houses at the moment." His eyes, the same shape and color as Elon's, crinkled slightly at his own joke. Against every security protocol his team had drilled into him, Elon walked closer and sat down on the concrete block. "I'm Elon." Tom let out a laugh. "Yeah, I know who you are. Kinda hard not to in this town, especially when people have been telling me I look like you for years." He sat down on the edge of his cardboard mat, keeping a respectful distance, though I think the last few months have made the resemblance a bit harder to spot. He ran a hand through his tangled beard. "How long have you been—" Elon gestured vaguely at the makeshift shelter. "Homeless? About 8 months this time around," Tom said. "Was renting a room in San Jose before that, but lost my job when the company went under. Worked in electrical engineering, quality control for battery systems." Elon felt a strange chill. "Batteries? Engineering?" This was getting stranger by the minute. "What company?" "Small startup called Sunstream. We were working on home battery storage for solar systems." Tom shrugged. We were doing good work, but the funding dried up. Venture capital isn't exactly patient money. Elon knew Sunstream. Tesla had looked at acquiring them 3 years ago, but passed. Too many overlaps with what they were already developing in-house. What about family? Elon asked. Tom's face closed slightly. None to speak of. Grew up in foster homes mostly. Came to the States when I was 20. Where from? South Africa originally, Pretoria. Elon felt the hairs on his neck stand up. This couldn't be coincidence. Was this some elaborate scheme? A long con? But to what end? The man wasn't asking for anything, wasn't trying to get close to him. Look, Tom said, reading Elon's expression. I get it. This is weird. Really weird. I'm not trying to freak you out or anything. You walked by, we noticed we look alike. That's all. Elon's phone buzzed in his pocket. His driver, letting him know they'd arrived. He should get up, walk away, forget about this strange encounter. Instead, he found himself saying, "When did you last eat?" Tom seemed surprised by the question.
Had some sandwiches from the church program this afternoon.
I do okay. That's not what I asked. Tom sighed.
Last proper meal in a restaurant?
Can't remember. Months. Elon stood up. Come with me. Where to? Tom asked, suddenly wary. Dinner? Or breakfast, I guess, given the hour. There's a diner about 10 minutes from here that's open all night. Good food, private booths. Elon paused. I have questions, and I'm guessing you do too. Tom looked at his cart of belongings. I can't leave my stuff. It's everything I own. Elon pulled out his phone and sent a quick text. Within minutes, 2 security team members appeared around the corner. These guys will watch your things. Nothing will be touched. Elon turned to his security team. This is Tom. His belongings stay safe. Understood? The 2 men, professional as always, simply nodded without showing any reaction to Tom's appearance. Tom looked from the security team to Elon and back again. For the first time, Elon could see the calculations happening behind those familiar-looking eyes. The risk assessment. The weighing of options. He recognized it because it was exactly what he would do. Okay, Tom finally said, but just for a couple hours. I need to be back before dawn. As they walked toward the waiting car, Elon couldn't help but notice their similar gaits, the same slight forward lean. The driver's eyes widened momentarily when he saw Tom but quickly returned to neutral. He was paid very well not to react to Elon's occasional oddities. In the back of the Tesla, Tom looked around with the practiced eye of someone who understood cars. Model S Plaid. Nice, the torque on this must be insane. 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, Elon confirmed, watching Tom carefully. Either this man was the most dedicated con artist he'd ever encountered, or something truly extraordinary was happening. The battery pack redesign made all the difference, Tom commented, running his hand along the door panel. The 4680 cells were a game changer. Elon raised an eyebrow. Those were specs that only recently had become public. You follow Tesla closely? Tom gave a sad smile. When you've worked in energy storage your whole career, and then the richest guy in the world who happens to look like you starts revolutionizing the field. He shrugged. Let's just say I've had plenty of time to read up while trying to get back on my feet. As the car pulled away from the Tesla complex, Elon looked at this strange mirror image of himself. A version shaped by different choices, different luck, different opportunities. What would he learn over breakfast? And more importantly, what would he do about Tom afterward? Some people might call this coincidence. But Elon Musk had never believed much in coincidence. There was always a pattern, always an explanation. You just had to look hard enough to find it. So, he said as the car slipped silently through the empty streets. Tell me about Pretoria. The all-night diner was nearly empty when Elon and Tom walked in. A sleepy waitress glanced up, did a double take, then quickly composed herself. Elon nodded toward a corner booth far from the windows and the few other late-night customers. Get whatever you want, Elon said as they slid into opposite sides of the booth. The vinyl seats squeaked under their weight. Tom picked up the laminated menu but didn't open it. Why are you doing this? Elon studied him in the harsh fluorescent lighting. The resemblance was even more striking here. Same cheekbones, same jawline under the beard, same slightly asymmetrical eyebrows. Even the way Tom held himself, that slight forward tilt to the shoulders, mirrored Elon's own posture. Honestly? I'm not sure, Elon replied. Curiosity, maybe. Or perhaps I'm just looking for a distraction from an endless stream of meetings about production targets. The waitress approached, notepad in hand, Her eyes darted between the two men, clearly noticing what they both already knew. She took their orders, a short SDA, yolks of pancakes with eggs for Tom, black coffee and toast for Elon. When she left, Tom leaned back. So you want to know about Pretoria? Start from the beginning, Elon said. When were you born? June 28, 1971, Tom answered. Elon's coffee cup froze halfway to his mouth. That was 3 days after his own birthday. Hospital? Pretoria General, the same hospital where Elon had been born. The coincidences were piling up, becoming too numerous to dismiss. And your parents? Elon asked. Tom's face clouded. Like I said, foster care mostly. My birth mother died when I was very young. Never knew my father. He paused. Look, I don't mean to be rude, but I've seen those true crime shows. I know how this looks. Some homeless guy who happens to look like one of the richest men in the world just happens to cross his path. Even I wouldn't believe it. Their food arrived, momentarily halting the conversation. Tom dug in immediately, eating with the careful efficiency of someone who had learned not to waste food. Elon merely picked at his toast. I had a genetic disease as a kid, Tom continued between bites. Nothing major, but it required treatment. That's actually why I got interested in science. Spent a lot of time in hospitals, asked a lot of questions. What disease? Elon asked, his voice sharper than he intended. Tom looked up, surprised at the intensity. Rare enzyme deficiency. They called it Anderson-Fabry syndrome back then. Caused some issues with my kidneys, pain in my hands and feet. Got treatment for it when I was around 10, been fine since. Elon felt a chill run through him. He had been diagnosed with the same condition as a child. And you came to America when? When I was 20. Got a scholarship to study at Cal Poly, electrical engineering. Tom took another bite of pancake. Graduated, worked for a few companies. Did okay for a while. Had an apartment in Mountain View. Even put some money away. What happened? Tom shrugged, but the casualness didn't reach his eyes. Life. Medical bills piled up after I broke my leg in a car accident. No health insurance. Lost my job during layoffs at the company I was with. Couldn't find another position fast enough. Used up my savings. Started living in my car, but then it got towed with most of my stuff inside. He looked down at his nearly empty plate. You know how it goes. Once you're down, it's hard to get back up. Elon nodded slowly. He'd had his own struggles, his own near misses, but he'd always had a safety net. Family, connections, opportunities. And your work at Sunstream? Battery systems? Tom's eyes lit up, the fatigue momentarily vanishing. That was the best job I ever had. We were working on something special. Energy storage systems for home use. Compact, safe, affordable. Our prototype was promising, but then our main investor pulled out. Why? Elon asked. We were competing with your Powerwall before it even launched, Tom said with a hint of pride. But we couldn't scale fast enough. The lead investor got cold feet when he heard rumors Tesla was moving into home energy storage. Can't blame him. Why back the small fish when there's a shark in the water? The waitress refilled their coffees. Elon waited until she left before speaking again. I'd like to help you, Tom. Tom's expression hardened. I didn't tell you my story for charity. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a fair exchange, Elon said. You've piqued my interest, and that's not easy to do. I'd like to learn more about you, run some tests maybe. Tests? Tom's eyes narrowed. What kind of tests? DNA, for starters. Medical history comparisons. Elon leaned forward. Look, we both know this is strange. The resemblance, the similar backgrounds, even the same medical condition. Don't you want to know why? Tom stared at him for a long moment. And what do I get out of being your science project? Temporary housing, food, and when we're done, regardless of what we find, a job if you want one. Just like that? Tom sounded skeptical. You'll hire a homeless guy with an 8-month gap in his resume because he happens to look like you? I hire people who impress me, Elon countered. And you've certainly done that. Besides, I have a feeling you know more about battery systems than most of the PhDs I interview. Tom turned to look out the window, thinking. The night was starting to fade, the first hints of dawn lightening the eastern sky. 2 conditions, Tom finally said. First, I stay in the housing alone. No security teams, no cameras. My privacy matters. Reasonable. And the second? I want to know everything you find. No secrets, no holding back information because you think I can't handle it. Elon nodded. Deal. 2 hours later, Tom was settled into a corporate apartment Tesla kept for visiting executives. The space was sparsely furnished but clean and comfortable, a massive upgrade from the cardboard and tarp shelter of the previous night. His few belongings, carefully retrieved from the shopping cart, now sat in neat piles on the living room floor. "Someone will come by this afternoon to take DNA samples," Elon explained, handing Tom a new phone. "My private number is programmed in. Call any time." When Elon left, Tom stood at the window watching the Tesla disappear down the street. He looked around the apartment, then at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. Slowly he began to trim his beard, revealing more of the face beneath, a face that matched one of the most recognized people on the planet. Meanwhile, in his office, Elon called his most trusted private investigator. "I need everything you can find on a Thomas Reeves, born June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa," Elon said into the phone. "School records, immigration documents, employment history, medical records, everything." "That's a lot of confidential information," the investigator replied cautiously. "Some of it might require creative approaches. Just get it done," Elon said. "And one more thing. I need you to find out if there were any unusual research programs happening at Pretoria General Hospital in June 1971. "Research programs?" the investigator asked. "What kind?" Elon stared at the early morning sun reflecting off the Tesla factory in the distance. "Twins, genetics, developmental studies, anything involving newborns." After hanging up, Elon sat motionless, his mind racing through possibilities. Separated at birth? Unlikely. His mother had never mentioned a twin. A government experiment? Too conspiratorial, even for his sometimes paranoid thinking. A random genetic coincidence? The odds seemed astronomical. The truth was out there, hidden in hospital records and government files from a different era, a different country. And Elon Musk was not a man who left mysteries unsolved. As for Tom, he lay on the first real bed he'd had in months, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd made a terrible mistake or if his life was about to change forever. Either way, there was no going back now. The moment he'd stepped out from under that tarp and looked into his own eyes staring back at him, a new path had opened up, one neither man could walk away from until they discovered the truth. 3 days had passed since Tom moved into the corporate apartment. The DNA samples had been taken, rushed to a private lab under strict confidentiality agreements. Tom had spent the time showering regularly, eating proper meals, and sleeping on a real bed. Small luxuries he hadn't enjoyed in months. He stood at the bathroom mirror, examining his now trimmed beard and freshly cut hair. With each day of proper nutrition and rest, his face regained its former shape, making the resemblance to Elon even more pronounced. It was like looking at a photo of the billionaire from an alternate timeline, one where luck and opportunity had taken different turns. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Tom opened it to find a woman in a crisp business suit holding a tablet. "Mr. Reeves, I'm Diane from Mr. Musk's office. He'd like to see you today if that's convenient." Tom nodded. "Let me grab my jacket." The Tesla that waited downstairs was sleek and silent. Tom watched the city pass by through tinted windows, still not quite believing the turn his life had taken. A week ago, he'd been arranging cardboard to keep the morning dew off his sleeping bag. Now he was heading to a meeting with one of the world's richest men, a man who shared his face. Tesla headquarters buzzed with the usual activity. Engineers huddled over tablets, marketing teams debated campaign strategies, and production managers rushed between meetings. Tom noticed a few curious glances as Diane led him through the building, but no one stopped them. Elon's office was surprisingly modest, functional rather than flashy. The man himself stood by the window, looking out at the factory floor below. He turned when they entered, and once again both men experienced that uncanny moment of recognition. "Thanks for coming," Elon said, gesturing to a chair. Tom sat down. "Not like I had much else on my schedule." Elon smiled slightly at the joke. "How's the apartment?" "Better than cardboard." Tom leaned forward. "But I'm guessing you didn't bring me here for small talk." "No." Elon sat down across from him and slid a tablet across the desk. "The DNA results came back this morning." Tom's heart quickened. He picked up the tablet and began to read, scanning through the technical language. "We're not related?" he finally said, looking up in confusion. "Not even distantly," Elon confirmed. No shared ancestry within the detectable range. Tom set the tablet down. That can't be right. The resemblance, the same hospital, the same medical condition. I know, it doesn't make sense, Elon agreed. Which is why I had my team dig deeper. He tapped something on his own tablet, and a screen on the wall lit up with old scanned documents. These are records from Pretoria General Hospital, June 1971. Tom stood and moved closer to the screen. How did you get these? Let's just say money opens doors, even 50-year-old ones, Elon replied, joining him. Look at this. The document on screen was a research proposal, the letterhead bearing the insignia of a now-defunct South African government agency. The title read, Phenotypic Convergence Study in Non-Related Neonates, Proposal for Longitudinal Monitoring. What am I looking at? Tom asked, struggling with the scientific terminology. A government-approved study that ran from 1970 to 1973, Elon explained. They identified newborn babies who had similar physical characteristics but no genetic relationship. The researchers wanted to track these children throughout their lives, studying how environment versus genetics influenced development. Tom stared at the document, his mind racing. Are you saying we were part of this study? That they specifically identified us because we looked alike as babies? Elon nodded, swiping to the next document. This is the participant registry. Look at case pair number 17. There it was in black and white. Subject 17A, Musk. Dub 625 to 71, and right below it, Subject 17B, Reeves. Each and Dub 628-71. Tom felt his legs weaken and sat back down. This is unbelievable. The study was discontinued in 1973 after a change in department leadership, Elon continued. The records were sealed and all follow-up monitoring ceased. Many of the participants, like you, were never informed they had been part of the study at all. But you knew? Tom asked sharply. No, not until yesterday. Elon sat on the edge of his desk. My mother never mentioned it. She may not have known the full extent of what they were doing. The consent forms were vague. Tom ran a hand through his hair, the same gesture Elon often made when thinking deeply.
So what happens now?
That's up to you. Elon pulled up another file on the screen. I had my team look into Sunstream while we waited for the DNA results. Your work there was impressive. The energy storage solution you were developing had some unique approaches to thermal management. You researched my work? Tom asked, surprised. I research everything that interests me. Elon handed him another tablet. These are the patents Sunstream filed before they went under. Your name is on 3 of them. Tom scrolled through the documents. Yeah, we had good ideas. Not enough money to develop them properly? I have money, Elon said simply. Tom looked up, eyes narrowing. What exactly are you suggesting? Tesla's energy division has an opening. The team is working on next-generation home storage solutions, building on the Powerwall technology but taking it further. They could use someone with your experience. Is this a real job offer or just your way of keeping your look-alike science experiment close by? Elon's expression remained neutral. The job is real. Whether you take it is your choice. Tom set the tablet down and walked to the window, looking out at the vast Tesla complex. The silence stretched between them. Why did your company succeed while mine failed? Tom finally asked, his back still turned. We were working on similar technology. We had good ideas, good people. Timing, funding, luck. Elon joined him at the window. And yes, connections. The world isn't fair, Tom, never has been. Tom turned to face him. And now you want to hire me out of what, guilt? Curiosity? Some bizarre sense of cosmic balance? I want to hire you because you're good at what you do, Elon replied. The rest is interesting but secondary. Another knock at the door interrupted them. Diane poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but your next meeting is waiting. Elon nodded. Give me 5 minutes. When she left, he turned back to Tom. Think about the offer. The apartment is yours for as long as you need it, regardless of your decision. Tom looked down at his clothes, new jeans and a button-up shirt that had been delivered to the apartment yesterday, replacing his worn and tattered wardrobe. You've gone to a lot of trouble for a stranger. You're hardly a stranger at this point, Elon said with a slight smile. What if I take the job? Won't people notice the resemblance? People see what they expect to see. A homeless man looking like me is a coincidence. An engineer at Tesla looking like me is just office gossip. Elon shrugged. Besides, I'm hardly in the office these days. Too many companies, too little time. Tom considered this. His life had been in free fall for months, a downward spiral that seemed impossible to escape. Now, through the strangest twist of fate imaginable, he had a chance to start over. The job pays well? He asked. Very well. And the work is meaningful? It could change how the world stores and uses energy. Tom nodded slowly. I'll need to think about it. Take all the time you need. Elon extended his hand. Tom hesitated before shaking it. Two identical hands briefly clasped together, as if across parallel universes. Later that evening, Tom sat on the balcony of his temporary home, watching the sunset over Silicon Valley. His phone, the new one Elon had given him, buzzed with a message. It was from an unknown number, but the contents made the sender clear. Medical records confirmed we both received treatment for Anderson Fabry from the same doctor, separated by 3 weeks. Too many coincidences to ignore. Research team found additional study documents. I'm sending them to your tablet. Worth reading. Tom opened the files and began to read, diving deeper into the mystery of their shared past. 2 unrelated boys, born days apart, who grew to become mirror images of each other. One path leading to unimaginable success, the other to hardship and struggle. Both now converging again 50 years later, as if guided by some unseen hand. The question remained, was this merely the end of a long-forgotten study, or the beginning of something new? 2 weeks later, Tom walked through the research and development wing of Tesla's energy division, a badge clipped to his shirt and a tablet under his arm. He had accepted Elon's job offer after 3 days of consideration. The salary was generous. The work aligned perfectly with his expertise, and frankly, he had no better options. His new colleagues had been welcoming, if a bit curious about the new hire who had appeared out of nowhere with high-level clearance. The rumors had started almost immediately. Whispers about his resemblance to the boss, theories ranging from long-lost relative to secret clone. Tom neither confirmed nor denied anything, simply focusing on the work, and there was plenty of work to do. The next-generation Powerwall project was ambitious, smaller, more efficient home battery systems that could integrate seamlessly with any power grid while providing emergency backup during outages. Tom's experience at Sunstream proved
Invaluable as he spotted potential issues in the current.
designs and suggested elegant solutions. He was reviewing thermal management schematics when his tablet chimed with a message. My office. 2 p.m., sir. Since starting at Tesla, Tom had seen Elon only twice. Brief encounters in the hallway or cafeteria, with little more than a nod of acknowledgement. This would be their first real meeting since he'd taken the job. At precisely 2 o'clock, Tom knocked on Elon's office door. Come in, called the familiar voice. Elon was standing by a large touchscreen displaying what looked like satellite imagery. He motioned Tom over without looking up. What do you see here? Elon asked, gesturing at the screen. Tom studied the image, an aerial view of what appeared to be a large industrial complex. Manufacturing facility? Hard to tell without context. It's the old Sunstream factory, Elon said, finally turning to face him. Shut down after the company folded, but still intact. The equipment is outdated, but salvageable. Tom flinched slightly at the mention of his former workplace. Why are you showing me this? I bought it, Elon said matter-of-factly. The building, the equipment, the remaining patents, all of it. You what? Tom stared at him in disbelief. Why would you do that? Investment opportunity. Elon swiped to another screen showing financial projections. Tesla's core battery production is at capacity. We need additional facilities for the energy division's expansion. Tom studied the numbers, his mind racing. These projections assume a functioning production line within 6 months. That's ambitious. I do ambitious well, Elon replied with a slight smile. The question is, can you? What do you mean? Elon handed him another tablet. Project Phoenix, a new subdivision within the energy division, focused exclusively on residential and small business storage solutions, operating out of the former Sunstream facility once renovations are complete. Tom scrolled through the document, his eyes widening as he reached the organizational chart. There at the top, project lead Thomas Reeves. You want me to run this? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. You built Sunstream's prototypes. You know the facility. You understand the technology. Elon sat on the edge of his desk. Who better? Tom set the tablet down carefully as if it might shatter. I was homeless 3 weeks ago and now you want to put me in charge of a multi-million-dollar project? This is crazy. Is it? Your background checks out. Your references, the ones who could be located, all say the same thing. Brilliant engineer, good manager, terrible at office politics. Elon shrugged. The last one is probably why you ended up on the street while lesser talents thrived. This isn't about my qualifications, Tom said, running a hand through his hair. It's about this. He gestured between their faces. The whole reason I'm here is because I look like you. Would you rather I hadn't noticed you that night? Elon asked quietly. Tom paced to the window and back. That's not what I meant. But you have to admit this is unusual. People will talk, people always talk. I stopped caring years ago. Elon picked up the tablet with the project details. This is a genuine opportunity, Tom. Not charity, not curiosity, business. The work you were doing at Sunstream was ahead of its time. Now the market has caught up. Tom took a deep breath, considering the offer. I need to think about it. You have until tomorrow, Elon replied. The renovation team starts on Monday. Later that evening, Tom sat in his new apartment. A real lease now, not temporary corporate housing. He'd signed the papers yesterday, putting down roots for the first time in nearly a year. His few belongings looked sparse in the larger space, but it was a start. His phone rang, a number he didn't recognize. Hello? Mr. Reeves? A woman's voice asked. This is Dr. Ann Chen. I believe Elon Musk gave you my contact information. Tom sat up straight. Yes, he did. Thanks for calling. I've been reviewing the files from the Pretoria General Study, she continued. It's fascinating material, both scientifically and ethically problematic by today's standards. What can you tell me about it? Tom asked, grabbing a notebook. The study identified 23 pairs of unrelated newborns with similar physical characteristics. The researchers were testing a controversial theory about convergent development, the idea that certain physical traits might emerge, similarly in unrelated individuals due to environmental factors rather than genetics. And Elon and I were pair number 17. Tom said, Yes. What makes your case particularly interesting is that both of you developed the same rare enzyme deficiency, Anderson-Fabry syndrome. The odds of that happening by chance in unrelated individuals are astronomically small. Tom frowned. So you're saying it wasn't chance? That somehow being part of this study caused the medical condition? Not exactly, Dr. Chen clarified. The study documents suggest the researchers selected infants who already showed certain biochemical markers that might predispose them to similar development patterns. The Anderson-Fabry markers were likely present at birth in both of you. So they chose us because we were already similar on some fundamental level? Precisely. The study wasn't creating similarities. It was identifying and tracking them. She paused. There's something else. The researchers kept samples from all participants. Blood, tissue, that sort of thing. Standard practice at the time, though ethically questionable now. What happened to those samples? Tom asked, suddenly alert. Most were destroyed when the study ended. But according to these records, some were preserved in a long-term storage facility in Johannesburg. Whether they're still there after 50 years is anyone's guess. Tom jotted down the details. Thank you, Doctor. This helps fill in some gaps. After hanging up, Tom stared at his notes, the pieces of the puzzle slowly coming together. Not relatives, not twins, but two unrelated boys selected for their similarities, then sent on divergent life paths. His phone buzzed with a text from Elon. Decision? Tom typed back, I'll take the job, but I want to go to South Africa. Need to see those samples if they still exist. The response came quickly. The company jet leaves tomorrow night. We'll go together. In the morning, Tom met with the Tesla legal team to sign the paperwork for his new position. As project lead, he would have significant autonomy, a substantial budget, and a team of 20 engineers. The salary made his head spin, more money than he'd ever imagined earning. Mr. Musk insisted on these terms specifically, the lawyer explained, pointing to a clause regarding project ownership. Any patents developed will be joint property of Tesla and the project team, with individual inventors receiving recognition. Tom read the clause twice. "This is unusually generous," the lawyer nodded. "Mr. Musk said something about rectifying past imbalances. I didn't ask for clarification." By evening, Tom had packed a small suitcase, mostly new clothes purchased with his signing bonus, and headed to the private airfield where Elon's jet waited. The man himself was already aboard, working on a laptop surrounded by tablets displaying various projects. "Ready for a trip down memory lane?" Elon asked as Tom settled into a seat across from him. "I barely remember South Africa," Tom admitted, "left when I was too young to have many clear memories." "Same here." Elon closed his laptop. "Strange to think we were there at the same time, in the same places, experiencing the same things, but on completely different paths. Like parallel lives that were never supposed to intersect," Tom said quietly. The jet began to taxi down the runway. "I've been thinking about that," Elon said as they lifted into the air. "What if our meeting wasn't an accident? What if it was the natural conclusion of what started 50 years ago?" "You believe in fate now?" Tom asked skeptically. "I believe in patterns," Elon replied. "Statistical probabilities, mathematical certainties." He looked out the window as California disappeared beneath them. "What are the odds that you would end up homeless outside my building on the exact night I decided to walk to my car, instead of having it brought around?" Tom had no answer for that. As the plane headed across the Pacific, both men fell silent, lost in their own thoughts. Behind them lay Silicon Valley, a place of extraordinary opportunity and crushing failure. Ahead lay South Africa, a place of beginnings and, perhaps, answers. Whatever they found in Johannesburg, one thing was certain. The strange connection between them had already changed both their lives irrevocably. For Tom, it had meant a second chance, an opportunity pulled from the jaws of despair. For Elon, it had meant something less tangible but perhaps equally valuable. A glimpse of a life that might have been his under different circumstances. A reminder of fragility and fortune's fickle hand. Johannesburg greeted them with warm air and golden sunlight. A waiting car took them directly from the private airfield to their hotel, where Elon had booked the entire top floor for privacy. Despite their exhaustion from the long flight, both men were too wired to sleep. "The storage facility opens at 9 tomorrow," Elon said, studying his tablet as they sat in the suite's living area. "I've arranged for access through a local contact." Tom nodded, gazing out at the unfamiliar city skyline. 50 years is a long time. The samples might be gone. Maybe. Elon set down his tablet. "But I've learned it's worth checking, even when the odds seem long." They spent the evening reviewing the research files Dr. Chen had sent them. The study had been more extensive than either had realized, tracking everything from physical development to cognitive abilities in the paired subjects. Photos showed Elon and Tom as infants, then toddlers, nearly identical in appearance, down to the same cowlick in their hair. "Strange to think I was being monitored and had no idea," Tom said, studying a medical chart from when he was 3 years old. "The question is why this study was so important that the government funded it for years." Elon mused. Cold War era, apartheid South Africa. They weren't exactly known for their progressive scientific interests. The next morning, they drove to an industrial area on the city's outskirts. The storage facility looked abandoned at first glance, a concrete building with faded lettering and rusted chain-link fence. A security guard examined their paperwork with surprise, then led them through a maze of corridors to an elevator. "Level B3, he said, using a key to unlock the button. "Haven't had anyone go down there in years." The elevator creaked its way down, the lights flickering ominously. When the doors opened, they revealed a vast underground warehouse filled with rows of metal shelving units, each stacked with labeled boxes and containers. "Section 17 would be that way," the guard said, pointing down a dimly lit aisle. "Good luck finding what you're looking for." It took them nearly 2 hours of searching before Elon called out from between two tall shelves. "Over here." "I found it." Tom hurried over. Elon was standing in front of a shelf labeled Phenotypic Convergence Study, pairs 15 to 21. A metal box marked 17A, 17B sat covered in dust. With gloved hands, Elon carefully lifted the box and placed it on a nearby table. The lid stuck from decades of disuse but eventually came free with a metallic groan. Inside were neatly organized vials, slides, and files. all carefully labeled and preserved. Subject 17A, Musk on one side, Subject 17B, Reeves on the other. Unbelievable, Tom whispered. After all this time, Elon pulled out his phone and made a call. The samples are here. Send the team in. He turned to Tom. I've arranged for a mobile lab. They'll be here within the hour to properly document and transport everything. While they waited, they examined the paper files that accompanied the samples. Most contained technical data they had already seen, but at the bottom of the box was a sealed envelope marked Project Director Notes, Classified. Elon broke the seal and pulled out several yellowed pages of handwritten notes. As he read, his expression changed from curiosity to shock. What is it? Tom asked. Elon handed him the papers. See for yourself. Tom began reading aloud. The twin-like similarities observed in our non-related subject pairs cannot be fully explained by environmental factors or developmental monitoring alone. Our working theory now centers on the pre-birth environmental supplements administered to the mothers during their final trimester. He looked up at Elon. Environmental supplements? What does that mean? Elon pointed back to the document. Keep reading. The identical nutritional formula given to all participant mothers appears to have enhanced certain genetic expressions in the fetuses while suppressing others, creating a form of soft genetic alignment between subjects who already shared physical predispositions. In pairs where the alignment was most successful, particularly pairs 9, 12, and 17, we observe not only physical similarities but also apparent intellectual and temperamental parallels that persist beyond early childhood. Tom set the papers down, his hands shaking slightly. Are they saying they deliberately created these similarities, that our mothers were given something that made us more alike? It appears so. Elon picked up another document from the file. This is a list of the mothers who participated. Look at the notations beside their names. Each woman was categorized as either informed, participant, or supplement only. Next to Elon's, mother's name was informed, participant. Next to Tom's was supplement, only. My mother knew, Elon said quietly. Yours didn't. The mobile lab team arrived, efficient professionals who quickly cataloged and packed the samples for transport. They would be taken to a proper research facility for analysis. On the drive back to their hotel, both men were unusually quiet, processing the implications of what they'd discovered. A secret government program manipulating pregnant women to create similar children, Tom finally said. It sounds like science fiction. The Cold War era was full of ethically questionable research, Elon replied. Both sides did things that would never be approved today. But why? What was the purpose? The notes mentioned intellectual and temperamental parallels. Elon stared out the car window. Maybe they were trying to understand which traits come from genetics versus environment. If they could make two unrelated children develop similar capabilities, then they could potentially enhance specific traits in future generations, Tom finished. A kind of soft eugenics program. Back at the hotel, they received word that the samples had arrived safely at the lab. Analysis would take several days. I need to get back to California, Elon said, checking his watch. There's a rocket launch scheduled that I can't miss, of course. Tom nodded. I should get back too. The Project Phoenix team is waiting. As they packed for the return journey, Elon paused. Whatever we find out from those samples doesn't change anything, you know. The job, the opportunity, that stands regardless. I know. Tom zipped up his bag. But I need to understand. For 50 years, my life has been shaped by forces I didn't even know existed. Every major decision, every path taken or not taken, how much was really my choice? All of it, Elon said firmly. Whatever they did before we were born, the choices were still ours. Were they? Tom challenged. Your mother knew about the study. She was wealthy, educated, connected. She could guide you, create opportunities. My mother died when I was young. I bounced through foster homes. Different starting points, different resources. And yet here we are, Elon replied. Both engineers. Both focused on the same technological solutions. Both driven by similar visions of the future. One of us a billionaire, one recently homeless. Tom added dryly. Success isn't just about ability or drive. Timing, luck, connections, they all play a part. Elon sat across from him. I've had my share of failures, near bankruptcies. A few different turns, and our positions might have been reversed. 6 months later, the renovated Sunstream facility hummed with activity. Project Phoenix had moved from concept to production faster than anyone had predicted, largely due to Tom's leadership and intimate knowledge of the building and equipment. The first batch of next-generation home battery systems was rolling off the production line, sleeker, more efficient, and more affordable than anything on the market. Tom stood in the control room, watching through the glass as robots assembled the units with precision. His phone chimed with a message from Elon. Final lab results arrived. "My office when you can." An hour later, Tom sat across from Elon as they reviewed the comprehensive analysis of the samples from Johannesburg. The nutritional supplement given to our mothers contained compounds that appear to influence gene expression, the report concluded, in subjects who already shared certain genetic markers. This created enhanced similarities in physical development, neurological patterning, and even potential aptitudes. Elon closed the file. "So there it is. Science created our similarities, but chance created our different paths. Until those paths crossed in that parking lot," Tom added, full circle. Elon stood and walked to a cabinet, returning with 2 glasses and a bottle. "I think this calls for a toast." He poured 2 fingers of whiskey into each glass and handed one to Tom. "To Project Phoenix," Elon said, raising his glass. "To second chances," Tom countered. They drank, 2 identical men with mirrored mannerisms, brought together by a half-century-old experiment and a chance encounter that had changed both their lives. Outside Elon's office window, the California sun glinted off the Tesla factory. Across town, the newly christened Phoenix Energy was changing how the world stored power. 2 visions, once separate, now aligned. In the end, perhaps it didn't matter what had made them similar. What mattered was what they chose to do with that similarity, the future they could build together that neither could have created alone. The twist that had once seemed mind-blowing now felt like the most natural thing in the world. 2 sides of the same coin finally united. 2 parallel paths converged at last.